Remove the horse from an Amish community, and you don't just change how fields get plowed. You change the size of the church district, the radius of the community, and when the workday ends. The horse isn't a tool the Amish use, it is the infrastructure their entire way of life is built on. Community radius. The standard bred horse that pulls an Amish family's buggy is not a romantic choice, it is a logistics decision. The retired harness racing, standard bred specifically for speed and endurance at the trot, already accustomed to harness, already traffic broken from years of racing in proximity to crowds, and noise is the most practical available animal for covering the 12 to 20 miles of road that Amish families travel regularly for church, commerce, and community. Its even temperament on busy rural roads, sharing lanes with trucks and cars moving at highway speeds, is the single most important characteristic it brings to the job. A horse that spooks in traffic is dangerous. A standard bred that has spent years racing in front of crowds does not spook in traffic. The physical layout of an Amish community is designed around what that horse can travel in a reasonable day. Church districts are kept small enough, typically covering a radius of only a few miles, that no family must travel an unreasonable distance to the Sunday service. Stores in Amish towns maintain water troughs for horses. Farmers carry hay on longer trips so the horse can eat during stops. Buggy hitching posts exist at the businesses where Amish families do their regular commerce. The infrastructure of the town bends toward the horse rather than the horse being eliminated in favor of the infrastructure already built for cars. Remove the horse, and the church district would need to be redesigned. The businesses would relocate. The community's geography would reorganize around whatever replaced it. The horse is not incidental to how the community is laid out. It is the measurement system the community was built with. Farm size. Draft horses are efficient only close to home. A Belgian or Percheron team cannot walk miles to rented land and arrive ready to work. The walk itself consumes the muscular energy that the field work requires, and a team that walks 4 miles to a distant field before beginning to plow is already partially spent before the first furrow is turned. This biological constraint keeps Amish farms compact. The average Amish farm in Holmes County, Ohio, covers approximately 80 acres. The general working rule on horse-powered farms is 1 horse for approximately 25 working acres. A farm of 80 acres requires a team of 3 to 4 horses to manage the full operation through the year's crop rotation. The farm is sized to what the team can manage, and the team is selected for what the farm requires. This is not a limitation the Amish work around. It is a feature they work within. A typical Amish crop rotation: 15 acres of small grains, 20 acres of alfalfa hay, 15 acres of corn, requires approximately 920 hours of annual labor. That is 23 40-hour work weeks spread across spring, summer, and fall in a distribution that a family can meet without hiring anyone outside the household. A conventional farm operating 1,000 acres of corn requires 3,600 hours annually, 90 40-hour work weeks, the majority of it compressed into spring and fall, demanding hired labor that reduces the return to the farm operator by the total cost of that labor. The Amish farm is smaller by every measure and more manageable by every measure for the same reason. It is sized to the horse, and the horse has kept it from growing past the point where the family can run it alone. The fertility loop. A single draft horse produces 55 pounds of manure per day, according to University of Minnesota research. A working farm with 10 draft horses generates 550 pounds of organic matter, daily material that goes directly back onto the fields. Those horses plowed, harrowed, and planted. The horse eats hay grown on the farm. The hay grows on soil amended by the manure the horse produced the previous season. The manure improves the soil's water-holding capacity, feeds the microbial populations that make nutrients available to crops, and builds the organic matter content that gives the topsoil its structure and fertility. The horse converts farm-grown hay into field power and field fertility simultaneously, and the cycle requires no external input at any point in its operation. Conventional farms break this cycle at the point where animal manure is replaced by purchased synthetic fertilizer. That substitution costs money on every application, adds a purchased input that the farm now depends on to maintain yields, and does not build organic matter the way composted manure does. The Amish farm that keeps horses keeps the loop closed. The fields do not deplete because the animals that work them are continuously restoring what the crops remove. An Amish farmer does not buy fertility. He grows it on four legs in the barn and spreads it before the spring plowing. The horse is not simply providing traction in this system, it is the mechanism by which the farm feeds itself. Soil structure. Soil compaction is one of the most documented and expensive problems in modern agriculture. It occurs when heavy machinery passes repeatedly over the same ground, compressing the topsoil structure, collapsing the pore spaces that hold water and air, and reducing the biological activity that makes nutrients available to plant roots. A modern industrial tractor can weigh 20,000 kilograms. A working draft horse weighs under 1,000. The structural difference in what each leaves behind in the soil it passes over is not subtle. It is measurable in yield, in water runoff, in the time required before the field is trafficable again after rain. Amish farmers enter wet spring fields earlier than their tractor farming neighbors. When the soil is moist but not yet dry enough to support tractor weight without causing compaction damage, the horse team is already working. The planting window, the narrow span of days in spring when soil temperature and moisture align correctly for germination, is longer for the horse-powered farm. A conventional farmer waiting for his fields to dry enough for his tractor loses days from that window that the Amish farmer does not lose. Wendell Berry, after examining both horse-worked and tractor-worked fields side by side in the same season, wrote that the tractors did the work faster but did not do it better. The soil quality difference between the two methods was visible to the eye. The horsework ground was more open, more structured, and more biologically active than the ground that had been run over by tires weighing 10 times more than the animal that pulled the plow. The workday. Horses have no headlights. When the sun goes down on an Amish farm, the workday in the field ends. This is not a hardship the Amish endure. It is a boundary they have chosen to maintain, and the horse is the mechanism that enforces it. An Amish farmer in Holmes County, Ohio, explained the logic without complaint. If he used tractors in the field, he could mount lights and continue working through the evening during planting and harvest, as his non-Amish neighbors routinely do. He does not want to. He wants to be home at dusk. He wants to sit at the table with his family in the evening. He wants his children to grow up in a household where the father is present after dark rather than still visible in the distance running equipment across a lit field. The conventional farm that adopted tractors after World War II did not simply change its power source. It changed the length of the workday, which changed the structure of the family's time, which changed what the farm required of the people running it. Larger equipment made larger farms possible. Larger farms demanded more hours. More hours removed the farmer from the family for longer periods and at more critical times of the day. The Amish farmer with horses cannot enter this spiral. His team works a 6-hour day, 3 hours in the morning, a break at noon, 3 hours in the afternoon before the animals need rest. The day is structured around the biology of the horse, and that structure produces, as a byproduct, a workday with edges. The family knows when it begins and when it ends. The horse is the reason. The Ordnung. The decision about whether horses or tractors work a given Amish community's fields is not made by individual families. It is made by the church district through the Ordnung, the spoken rules that govern each community's relationship with technology, and that every baptized member agrees to follow. The most conservative communities, the Swartzentruber Amish, use horses exclusively in all fieldwork with no exceptions. Old Order communities, which represent the majority of horse and buggy Amish, prohibit rubber-tired tractors from being used in the fields, not because the tractor's power is objectionable, but because a rubber-tired tractor can drive off the farm and to town. It becomes, in practice, an automobile. Steel-wheeled tractors, permitted in some communities for stationary power around the barn, cannot make that trip. They stay on the property. The horse stays on the property too, but for different reasons. New Order communities, the most progressive of the horse and buggy groups, may permit rubber-tired tractors for fieldwork. But even within the New Order, the adoption is uneven, and the conversation about what tractors lead to continues in each community separately. The Ordnung is not uniform across Amish settlements. It is renegotiated at the district level, and the horse question is one of the most consequential negotiations any district makes. Communities that have adopted tractors often find that tractors are, as predicted, the beginning of a sequence. The farm grows, the workday extends, the family structure changes. Other technologies follow the tractor's logic rather than resisting it. The communities that kept the horse kept the boundary that the horse represents. Modern equipment. Amish horse farming did not freeze in the 19th century and has not been maintained as a museum practice since. The Amish kept using horses when the rest of American agriculture abandoned them, and in doing so, they kept alive the market for horse-drawn farm equipment long enough for that market to develop its own supply chain. Pioneer Equipment in Dalton, Ohio, is now known by horse farmers across North America, Amish and non-Amish alike, for producing modern horse-drawn implements that integrate current engineering with traditional animal-powered traction. The forecart, a two-wheeled platform to which horses are hitched and implements are attached, now exists in versions that include a gasoline engine mounted at the front, driving a power takeoff that operates equipment like disc binds and hay mowers, while the horses provide the traction. The horses pull. The engine runs the cutting head. The result is a hay operation that the horses alone could not power at the required speed, without replacing the horses with a tractor. I&J Manufacturing in Pennsylvania produces similar equipment. Horse Progress Days, an annual event organized specifically around draft animal power in farming, draws crowds of 30,000 attendees and has been running for over 25 years. It showcases innovations in horse-powered equipment that the mainstream agricultural industry stopped developing generations ago. The Amish community did not simply preserve horse farming. By continuing to demand equipment for it, they funded the engineering effort that kept it viable at commercial scale. The horse is the constant in this story. The equipment around it has been continuously updated by the community that refused to let the practice disappear. The economics. The economic case for horses on Amish farms is not built on sentiment. A working team of Belgian or Percheron draft horses costs less at initial purchase than a small tractor. Horses require no diesel fuel. They run on hay that the farm grows, which means the fuel cost is already embedded in the farm's own crop production rather than appearing as a purchased input line on the operating budget. Horses can be bred on the property, and the offspring, young horses or started teams with basic training, can be sold as a revenue source. Jerry Miller, an Amish farmer in Ohio, noted that his family sells horses at auction as a regular part of their farm income. A tractor has never produced offspring that could be sold. The repair economics differ from the purchase economics. Tractor repairs require parts, mechanics, and sometimes dealer involvement. Horse health management requires a veterinarian for serious issues, but routine care, hoof trimming, harness maintenance, daily feeding is handled by the farmer and family using knowledge that is already present in the household. A horse that goes lame is a problem. A tractor that breaks down during planting is also a problem, and one that cannot be rested in a field while a replacement horse takes its place in the hitch. The Amish farmer with a team of 4 horses has redundancy built into his power source. The horse that needs rest is pulled from the hitch and replaced by another from the barn. The work continues. No parts are ordered. No dealer is called. In 2026, the Amish population continues to grow at a pace that doubles roughly every 20 years. Their farms are expanding into more American states than at any previous point in their 300-year history on this continent. They are doing this without tractors, without GPS, without diesel, and without the capital debt that modern agricultural machinery requires. The horse is the reason all of that remains possible. It keeps the farm small enough for a family to run. It closes the fertility loop that synthetic fertilizer is purchased to open on conventional farms. It structures the workday so that it ends at dusk instead of running past midnight during peak season. It limits the community's geographic radius in ways that keep the church district tight, the neighbors close, and the social infrastructure intact. Every technology the Amish evaluate passes through the same question. Does this bring the community together or does it pull it apart? The tractor was evaluated against that question and found not in what it does on its own, but in what it leads to: larger farms, longer days, hired labor, debt, consolidation, and the gradual erosion of the family structure that the Ordnung exists to protect. The horse was not retained because the tractor had not been invented. It was retained because the community looked at what the tractor produced beyond the field and decided it was not what they wanted to grow. The horse is still here in 2026, not as a symbol of the past. It is the load-bearing structure of a present that continues to expand.